Most people have been petting their dog wrong their entire life. Not cruelly, not neglectfully. Wrong in a specific, well-documented way that the research on canine tactile preferences makes very clear, and that most owners have never been told about because it seems too obvious to warrant a conversation. You reach out, you pet your dog, they seem fine. So you assume fine is the same as good. It is not. And the gap between fine and good, in the specific context of how you touch your dog, is larger than most owners realize and more worth closing than most owners know. The study that changed how we think about petting. In 2018, a study published in the Applied Animal Behavior Science examined something that sounds almost too simple to be worth researching: whether dogs preferred being petted by their owner or receiving food from a stranger. The result was not what most people expect. In the majority of interactions, dogs preferred petting from their owner over food from a stranger. Touch from a bonded person was, in a measurable and consistent way, more rewarding than a food resource from someone unfamiliar. This finding matters because it establishes something important. Touch between a bonded dog and their person is not just pleasant background contact. It is a primary reward. Neurologically real, physiologically measurable, and in many contexts more motivating than food itself. Which means the quality of how you touch your dog is not a minor detail. It is one of the most significant things you do for them on a daily basis. Where most owners get it wrong. The most common petting mistake is also the most invisible one because it feels, from the owner's perspective, completely natural. The pat on top of the head. It is the default greeting gesture for most people encountering most dogs. You reach out, you pat the top of the head, and the dog accepts it. Seems fine. Seems normal. But from the dog's perspective, a hand moving toward their face and landing on top of their head is a mildly aversive experience that they tolerate, rather than enjoy. The approach trajectory, a hand coming directly toward the face from above, triggers a reflexive flinch response in many dogs. The landing point, the top of the skull, and is not a region dogs groom each other or seek contact on. And the pat itself, rather than a sustained stroke, is abrupt and provides none of the sustained pressure that dogs find genuinely calming. Watch a dog's face during a head pat. Often you will see the eyes closed not in pleasure but in a bracing kind of resignation. The body may lean very slightly away. The dog holds still and waits for it to end. That is tolerance. That is not enjoyment. What the research says about preferred contact points. The canine body has specific regions where touch is consistently experienced as pleasurable and calming, and specific regions where it is consistently experienced as neutral or aversive. The research on this is more detailed than most owners expect. The chest and the area at the base of the neck are among the most consistently preferred contact points across dogs. These regions are accessible to the dog during mutual grooming with other dogs, are not defensively loaded in the way the face and head area is, and allow the dog to lean into or away from contact with full agency. Slow, sustained stroking in these areas produces measurable reductions in heart rate and cortisol in dogs. The base of the ears, not inside the ear, but the thick base, where the ear meets the skull, is a region rich in nerve endings that many dogs find deeply pleasurable when touched with a slow circular motion. You will often see dogs lean their head into this contact in a way that is unmistakably different from their response to a head pat. The base of the tail and the area just above it is another frequently preferred zone, though individual variation is high here and some dogs find it overstimulating rather than calming. Watch the dog's response carefully when trying this for the first time. The least preferred areas, consistently across the research, include the top of the head, the muzzle and face area, the paws and legs, and the tail itself. These are the regions dogs are most likely to show subtle stress signals around when touched. The direction and speed matter as much as the location. This is the piece most people miss entirely, and it is arguably as important as where you touch. Research on the physiological effects of different types of human touch on dogs found that slow, sustained stroking in the direction of the fur produces measurably lower cortisol responses than fast, activating touch or touch that moves against the fur. The stroking type of contact is what produces the calming, bonding effect most owners are trying to achieve. The activating, patting, fast contact type produces a cortisol response associated with arousal, which may be appropriate during play, but is not what most petting situations call for. Moving against the direction of fur growth is a subtle but consistent source of discomfort that most owners never notice they are doing. The sensation is mildly aversive at best and activating at worst. A hand moving slowly, steadily in the direction the fur naturally lies, from neck toward tail, from shoulder toward elbow, produces a fundamentally different neurological experience than the same hand moving quickly or in the opposite direction. Speed matters too. Slow, deliberate contact gives the dog's nervous system time to register the touch as safe and pleasurable. Fast, Patting contact keeps the nervous system in a state of minor alertness, even when the dog appears to accept it. The dog that looks relaxed during fast patting is usually in a state of managed tolerance rather than genuine ease. How to tell if your dog is enjoying it or tolerating it. This is the practical test that every owner should apply, and almost none do. Midway through petting your dog, stop. Remove your hand completely and then simply watch. A dog that is genuinely enjoying the contact will do one of several things. Lean toward you, nudge your hand, place a paw on you, or make some other bid to reinstate the contact that was just withdrawn. They are voting with their behavior for more. A dog that was tolerating the contact will do something different. They will simply stay where they are without reaching for more, or they will shift position, shake off, or move away with the ease of an animal released from something that was fine, but not sought. Most owners who try this test for the first time are surprised by the result. The dog they assumed loved being petted in a specific way simply does not reach for more when given the choice. That information is available on demand, in real time, at no cost. The stop test is the most direct window into whether your specific dog is enjoying your specific touch that you have immediate access to. The consent piece. This is the dimension of petting that animal behaviorists and veterinary professionals have been emphasizing with increasing consistency, and that owners most often receive with some resistance because it sounds overly complicated for something as simple as petting a dog. But the principle is straightforward. Touch that your dog actively chooses is fundamentally different from touch your dog passively accepts. A dog that seeks your hand, that leans into contact, that returns for more when you pause, that dog is choosing the touch. The neurological and physiological experience of chosen contact is measurably different from the experience of imposed contact, even when the contact itself is identical. The dog's autonomic nervous system responds differently to touch they solicited versus touch they are managing. This matters for two reasons. The first is the immediate quality of the interaction. A dog receiving touch they chose is getting significantly more benefit from it than a dog tolerating touch they did not. The second is cumulative. A dog whose physical interactions with their owner are consistently of the chosen rather than imposed variety develops a different relationship with physical contact over time. They seek it more, they relax into it more fully, and they associate your physical presence with something they actively want, rather than something they manage. The adjustment this requires from most owners is small, but specific. Before reaching for your dog, let them come to you when possible. When you do initiate, start with the preferred regions at a slow pace and watch what the dog's body tells you about whether to continue. When you stop, see what they do. What genuine enjoyment looks like. It is worth describing this clearly because most owners have seen it, but may not have consciously identified it as distinct from simple tolerance. A dog that is genuinely enjoying physical contact has a soft, loose body. Not still, loose. The muscles are not held against anything. The eyes may partially close, not in the bracing quality of a head pat, but in the slow, heavy-lidded quality of genuine ease. The breathing slows and deepens. The body may lean progressively more heavily into the contact as it continues, the dog transferring more weight toward you as their confidence in the touch deepens. Some dogs produce a low, rumbling vocalization during genuinely pleasurable contact. Not a growl, but a sound that is unmistakably the expression of something being experienced as good. Some dogs sigh audibly, some simply go very, very still in the way that only genuine comfort produces. This is what you are aiming for, not the stillness of a dog waiting for a hand to leave the top of their head, the stillness of a dog who has found something worth sinking into. Your dog has been telling you what they want from the moment you first reached for them. The language was always available. You just needed to know how to read it. Start with the chest, go slow, and then stop and see what they do. Drop a comment, I read every single one. Subscribe, new video every week. See you next time.